Good evening, I'm Robbie Alampay. The big stories tonight. Cebu City is reverted back to enhanced community quarantine as critical care capacity reaches dangerous levels. The NCR is not yet out of the woods yet, Malacanang says. It's still a hotspot. The rollout of the Universal Health Care Program might have to wait until next year as the pandemic is expected to push PhilHealth contributions to a deficit. With more Metro Manila residents preferring to pedal their way to work, the MMDA scrambles to complete its bike lane along EDSA. But lawmakers say no bike lanes will not do. The Department of Agriculture might soon find itself in the middle of an investigation over alleged overpriced fertilizers. And has Nickelodeon outed one of its most iconic characters just in time for Pride Month? We begin tonight with President Duterte heeding the IATF's call to revert Cebu to enhanced community quarantine while extending Metro Manila's general community quarantine status. With still no end in sight, the Chief Executive warns the public anew of grave consequences should they disobey quarantine rules. Maricel Halili with the details.
Cebu City's critical care capacity has reached the danger level, prompting President Duterte to place it back to enhanced community quarantine. Talisay City, meanwhile, is on a modified ECQ status until June 30. So does this mean that the Visayan cities will receive a third tranche of cash aid under the Social Amelioration Program? It might be unlikely, says Palace spokesman Harry Roque.
Sa Bayanihan Law po, limitado sa 2 tranches yan. At sigurado naman po na ang buong syudad ng Cebu at Talisay ay mabibigyan po ng pangalawang ayuda sang-ayon sa Bayanihan Law. Well, ang Bayanihan Act po, i-check namin. Parang ang sa batas po, ang pagkakaalam ko, medical frontliners po ang bibigyan.
In the same presser, Roque dispelled speculations that Cebu City is the new virus epicenter, but urged residents to be wary nonetheless. He also insisted that Metro Manila is still the hotspot, as its COVID-19 figures are relatively higher than that of Cebu City, with the region's doubling rate bordering on high risk at 6.9. A 7-day doubling rate is considered a moderate to high-risk area. But quarantine rules in NCR are more relaxed due to stronger and wider critical care capacity.
Kung hindi po natin makontain ang pagkalat ng sakit dito sa Cebu City, malaki po ang posibilidad na baka kumalak muli sa iba't ibang parte ng Visayas. At pati na po sa Luzon dahil gateway din po ng papunta ng Visayas galing Luzon ang Cebu.
With the new quarantine category, President Duterte once again reminded the public of the risk brought by the virus.
Ang problema niyan, pati yung mga bata, kung samahin ninyo, or you allow your children to go out when the place is not yet ready for them to be outside at nagkasakit. Huwag ninyo kaming sisihin.
Aside from Metro Manila, several cities are under GCQ until June 30. These include Cagayan, Isabela, Nueva Vizcaya, Quirino, Santiago City, Aurora, and Bataan. Also in GCQ until June 30 are Bulacan, Tarlac, Olongapo City, Calabarzon, and Mimaropa. Meanwhile, GCQ areas in Central Visayas are Bohol, Cebu, Negros Oriental, Siquijor, Mandaue City, and Lapu-Lapu City. In Mindanao, areas under GCQ until June 30 are Davao City and Zamboanga City. The remaining areas in the country are placed under modified GCQ. The omnibus guidelines for various categories of community quarantine are almost the same, except that legal counsels are now allowed to go out in ECQ areas to attend to their clients who are arrested during ECQ period. President Duterte is also set to meet with business sector to discuss strategies for economic recovery. For News 5, Maricel Halili, we are One News.
COVID-19 cases in the country continue to rise with more than 26,700 cases as of today. The Health Department is reporting over 360 new COVID-19 cases. Almost 250 are fresh, 115 are late cases. 5 new COVID-19 deaths were recorded in the past 24 hours, pushing the death count to more than 1,100. More than 300 people have recovered from the virus, bringing the total of recoveries to more than 6,500. Over in Navotas, a community extends its hard lockdown for another 5 days. That's along H. Monroy Street. Of the 96 residents in the area who underwent rapid tests, 49 tested positive. Barangay officials have started delivering food packs to more than 400 families affected. As some dine-in services resume today, some food players are going the extra mile to ensure sanitation and health protocols are being followed. McDonald's Philippines President Kenneth Yang says that their food chain has put up counter and table shields for protection. Food will also be delivered to customers through push carts. Meanwhile, Max's group is also giving its employees free supplements and vitamins. Foodie Global Concepts, meanwhile, uses UV light for disinfecting PPEs and packaging, among other things. Their outlets are also using electronic menu declaration forms via QR code.
Since nagbukas tayo ng dine-in, nakita namin na unti-unting bumabalik ang mga tao. Pero of course, meron pa rin takot na umiikot sa mga pa nila. So ang trabaho namin is to really reduce that fear and make that fear small enough para mas gustuhin nilang kumain sa mga venues natin.
Kailangan po safe ang lahat ng procedures na ginagawa po natin para sa ating mga customers. And sa amin po, we believe it starts with our people because if we can keep our people safe, then we will also keep our customers safe.
And Boracay Island is opening its doors to visitors from Western Visayas. That starts today. But Tourism Secretary Berna Puyat says that does not mean all other tourist destinations in the country will immediately follow suit. Speaking with Cito Beltran on One News Agenda, Puyat explained that LGUs want airtight health protocols before opening up to tourists. That's why, despite shifting to modified GCQ, Baguio City will not resume its tourism operations until September at the least, while Bohol is planning to open around early July. Puyat also recognized that the 14-day quarantine period is preventing a lot of tourists from traveling to the country.
When I was talking to one of the Korean partners, kasi he's dying to go diving, number one ang diving nila here in the Philippines, he said, as long as you don't give us the 14 days, we're in Korea kasi hindi banned from leaving, but they're discouraged.
Okay.
But they told us, if you can give us a place where, of course, they can fly directly, and we don't have to stay inside the room for 14 days, we're going to go there.
The pandemic is also pushing back the implementation of the Universal Healthcare Program, as PhilHealth is reporting a now depleted funding. Mayan Los Baños with that story.
The Universal Healthcare Act, or UHC, which was passed into law last year, aims to cover the population's primary healthcare needs, including checkups and basic laboratory tests. But with COVID-19 curveball, its implementation might be stalled until next year. This as PhilHealth reports a 10% plunge in collections, even projecting a deficit by the end of 2020 until 2024.
Kasi wala akong negosyo. Wala akong nagbabayad ng premium sa mga direct contributors. And yung indirect din which also depend on business activity, has also suffered a downturn.
And so PhilHealth recommends to delay the implementation of some of the programs under the UHC.
What we propose to do is to focus on the lighter expenditures of the primary healthcare, like the organization, accreditation, identification of the primary health care providers, the registration of the members.
But this did not sit well with some lawmakers.
With the realization ng nangyari po ng COVID-19 and the pandemic, hindi ba mas kailangan natin paigtingin yung implementation of primary care services?
Senator Risa Ontiveros agrees.
I think it would still be wise and even wiser na mas gumastos sa primary care in order to preempt higher expenditures sa mas serious na healthcare na kakailanganin kung lulubha yung sakit.
Meanwhile, Senator Bongo, chairman of the Senate Committee on Health, asked the agency about the plan to make PhilHealth payment a requirement before overseas Filipino workers could get their employment certificate.
This has not been implemented. what we ask the OWA to help us with is to register the departing OFWs, but not to collect and not to make it a requirement for the issuance, the premium collection, not a requirement for the issuance of the overseas employment certificate.
President Rodrigo Duterte earlier ordered the voluntary payment of PhilHealth premium from OFWs. The PhilHealth said they are abiding by the order. The agency noted, however, that voluntary payment is hard to sustain in the long run. Reporting for News 5, Mean Los Baños, we are One News.
We'll pause for a short break, but when the big story returns, authorities are rushing to set up a bike lane along EDSA within 2 weeks' time. But some advocates are afraid the new path might not be so safe. That too is facing opposition in the lower house as lawmakers insist bikes are not the solution to the lack of mobility. I'm Robbie Alampay. You're watching The Big Story. During the House hearing earlier today, lawmakers flagged the lack of public transportation options for commuters in Metro Manila as the region shifted to general community quarantine. Ria Fernandez with the story.
House lawmakers invited the agencies to the hearing after observing the lack of public transport during the Metro Manila's shift to GCQ.
Hindi natin bigyan ng pagkakataon na mabigyan ng maayos na transport facilities yung mga ordinaryo nating magagawa.
Marikina 2nd District Representative Stella Kimbo estimated that the economy is losing more than 1 billion pesos a day if at least 2 million laborers cannot go to work. The MMDA recognizes the problem but said that they have to tread carefully due to the health scare.
Naintindihan natin, kailangan nila lumabas, kailangan nila magtrabaho. Pero paglabas nila, nalilimutan nila na may COVID. Yan po yung kalaban natin ngayon. Kaya nga po lagi natin pinapaalala, moderate, dahan-dahan, dadating tayo dyan. Lahat po ng ginagawa namin ngayon, lalo-lalo sa EDSA, kung mapapansin nyo, it's all temporary anyway. Pero kung plano ang gawin na dyan, sa long term, no? Pero it will take time.
The DOTR added that all train lines are now operational, but in a reduced capacity of up to 20% only. They've expanded this by deploying buses along inner lanes that depart from MRT pickup points every 5 minutes. Some lawmakers also opposed the plan to add bicycle lanes along EDSA. Caloocan 2nd District Representative Edgar Erice stressed that bicycles should not be an alternative to public transport.
Kailangan may ready transport ng isang manggagawa makakapasok siya, hindi siya maglalakad o hindi siya magbibisikleta. Ang kailangan po natin, mass transport.
Marikina 1st District Representative and former MMDA Chairman Bayani Fernando Minual insists it's better to allow jeeps to resume trips than let bikers ply EDSA.
Pinaka-safe ang jeepney para sakyan sa COVID. Safer than the buses, yung modern buses natin. Safer than the train, safer than any other transport, safer than the buses natin na magaganda. Because hindi natin kinonsider na dapat walang aircon. Pagkat ang aircon, actually, pinaikot-ikot mo lang hangin. COVID stays there, the virus.
For News 5, Ria Fernandez, we are One News.
Despite the opposition of some lawmakers, the MMDA is gearing to complete the installation of an EDSA bike lane within the next 2 weeks. Marian Enriquez with the details.
Dante Intia has been biking for 2 hours straight to get to Pag-ibig's Timog branch. He biked all the way from his work in Divisoria to Quezon City so he can apply for a calamity fund.
Wala ganun talagang buhay. Inabot tayo ng ng COVID-19 eh. Kaysa naman maglakad, mas lalong delikado.
The long ride and the heat is nothing new for Dante. He's been cycling his way to work in Divisoria from his home in Bulacan for the past 10 years. Bikers like Dante may soon pedal in much bike-friendly roads.
Because of the lack of public transportation, many Filipinos have now turned to cycling. Here in EDSA, a minimum specification of 1.22 meters will be implemented for the bike lanes. But is this safe enough?
The Metro Manila Development Authority has started putting up markings for the designated bike lanes along EDSA, which they hope to be up and running in 2 weeks. The Move as One coalition estimates that a car lane can only move up to 1,000 people per hour, while a bike lane can move as many as 5,000 to 10,000 people in the same amount of time. Sustainable mobility advocate Robert C. lauded the government's initiative in installing bike lanes along the major road, but says it falls short of the minimum international standard width of 1.5 meters.
We should not be stingy. Dapat we should provide what is required for safety.
But this might be too much to ask in EDSA, says the MMDA.
Yung EDSA, ma'am, di naman yan pantay eh. May mga areas po na may mga flyovers, underpasses, service roads, no? Kagaya ho nito, may bungi yan. So may adjustment po. May portion na malaki, meron din pong portion na talagang 1.22 meters lang.
The agency also needs to figure out the best type of divider to install along the highway. Among the choices include concrete barriers, steel separators, or bollards. The MMDA also had a few safety reminders to cyclists and motorists to ensure their safety on the road.
Yun po yung share a road, no? Ito pong mga private motorist, maging aware po tayo pag may nakita tayong siklista, wag po natin silang pinahan. Yung mga cyclist naman po natin, wag naman po tayo makipagsabayan. Ayan, ang bibilis po ng mga sasakyan, wag naman po dyan.
The MMDA is expected to immediately start regulating cyclists once the installation of bike lanes along EDSA is complete. For News 5, Marian Enriquez, we are One News.
And these are the other big stories today. The Senate Electoral Tribunal has junked the co-warrant petitions filed against Senator Coco Pimentel. The consolidated petition sought to invalidate Pimentel's senatorial term from 2019 to 2025 as he had allegedly exhausted the constitutional two-term limit for senators. Meanwhile, the Justice Department again suspended the preliminary investigation on Pimentel's quarantine breach last March as the complainant has yet to submit requirements. Justice Secretary Minar de Guevara says the DOJ will send to the Office of the President tomorrow its comments on the enrolled anti-terrorism bill. He also expressed confidence that President Duterte will consider the Justice Department's review as well as that of other concerned agencies. And so far, only 12 out of more than 750 loan applicants have benefited from the Trade Department's CARES program for small business owners. According to President Duterte's latest weekly report, only 1.2 million pesos out of a 1.5 billion peso fund have been released to its beneficiaries. The Small Business Corporation targets to finish loan disbursements by August. Now, coming up on the big story, the DA finds itself in the middle of another fertilizer controversy as farmers allege that the agency purchased overpriced fertilizers. And this Nickelodeon star from Bikini Bottom is celebrating Pride Month as a member of the LGBT+ community. When we come back. Rappler CEO Maria Ressa is not the lone journalist to have been convicted of cyber libel in the country. That's according to the Justice Department. Undersecretary Mark Parete says Ressa is the fourth media practitioner to have been found guilty of cyber libel, citing records from the DOJ Office of Cybercrime. To date, there are 13 cyber libel convictions. According to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, Ressa's failure to provide sufficient evidence prompted the court to convict her. Roque also denied allegations that the government had something to do with the matter.
Hindi po gobyerno, hindi taong gobyerno, hindi politiko, pribadong individual. Walang kahit anong ebidensya, paano siya maabsulto? Parang ang gusto niyang makonvict. Well, ayan po, nakonvict nga.
Meanwhile, former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has expressed her support for Ressa. She tweeted that the Rappler CEO was convicted for merely doing her job. Clinton called on the public to protest attacks on the press. The Agriculture Department procured additional fertilizer to support farmers amid the COVID-19 pandemic, but the intended beneficiaries are crying out. They allege that this is overpriced. Shaila Francisco with the story.
Fertilizers are making the news again. This time as farmers question the Agriculture Department's procurement of urea fertilizers, which started in April. Urea fertilizers are used for bloom growth as it is high in nitrogen. The DA procured 1.8 million bags of this to help farmers increase palay production via a buy-two-take-two scheme. In the initial bidding, the DA spent 1.8 billion pesos from the Plant program, which the IATF approved to ensure enough food supply during the pandemic. Overall, the DA allotted 5.69 billion pesos since the approved ceiling price is at 1,000 pesos per bag. The DA says, though, that they were able to buy these at a cheaper rate. But farmers claim otherwise, saying the DA procured fertilizers are overpriced. Samahang industriya ng agrikultura cites that the average retail price during the time of bidding was at 850 pesos per bag, cheaper by 50 to 140 pesos, saving the government some 250 million pesos. Sinag says the DA should have lowered the ceiling price amid decreasing prices of fertilizers.
Pwede nilang bilihin ulit ng fertilizer, so additional number of bags na mapipigay sa mga magsasaka. Or kung hindi nila gagamitin sa fertilizer, pwede nila siguro ibalik dun sa national government. So, malaking pera yan.
The group also complained that the bidding was rushed. The DA denied these claims, saying enough notice for the bidding was given. As for the prices, the DA says these were based from surveys by the Philippine Statistics Authority and Fertilizer and Pesticide Authority.
They failed to consider that the contract price includes the cost of fertilizer, transportation costs, incidental services, and applicable taxes.
The DA says the ceiling price will remain in the succeeding biddings. For now, Sinag has written a letter to the Senate to investigate the issue.
So we have to be careful na yung ginagasta natin ay dapat maayos ang paggasta kasi malaki na problema natin, madadagdagan pa yung problema natin.
Meanwhile, the Agriculture Department says they are open to any probe. Shaila Francisco, VR1 News.
As the country continues to grapple with the health crisis, more and more potential donors are also thinking twice about donating blood, leaving blood banks running low on supply. JC Cosico has this report.
37-year-old Karen Cristobal gave birth to her fourth child last month, but to date, baby Mark Kenzo remains admitted after he was diagnosed with sepsis, a blood infection. He is in need of type B positive blood, but his mother says finding a donor is a challenge.
Maghahanap din po kami ng donor. Mahirap din, sir. Wala rin mahanap. Kasi yung iba, sir, ayaw. Kasi ayaw lumabas. Kasi nga po, pandemic.
The baby also has a kidney problem, so his mother is asking for help as their hospital bills are racking up.
Baka po meron dyan na gustong mag-donate ng dugo. Baka po pwede kami matulungan.
The Philippine Blood Center admits their blood supply is running low as the pandemic lingers. What used to be a monthly collection of 4,000 to 5,000 blood bags is now down to just 400 bags.
Nasa malalang level. Ayoko siyang tawagin na mayroon lang konting kakulangan. Hindi, talagang merong need tayo lalo na dito sa Metro Manila.
Aside from blood donation drives being postponed due to quarantine restrictions, the PBC says people might be scared to go to the blood bank to donate. But the PBC appeals to the public. Their donations might save a life.
Pwede ka matay ng pasyente pag kinulang ka ng dugo. Siyempre, hindi ka na kasi ang dugo, parte ng paghinga, parte ng pagtibok ng puso, no?
On Monday, a convalescent plasma therapy program was launched to help severely ill COVID-19 patients. Interested donors may contact the PBC for more details and to schedule an appointment. PBC will shoulder the transportation of the donor. Passes will be given to those who have their own cars, especially those who need to travel from one city to another.
Huwag matakot, no? Alamin na itong proseso na ito ay safe. Ginagawa din namin safe sa COVID ang aming facility at yung mismong proseso din ng pagbibigay ng dugo.
On June 14, the PBC partnered with the Alagang Kapatid Foundation for a blood donation drive. A total of 119 donors were able to donate in batches. Dr. Taguyana notes the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF, allows blood donation drives as long as health protocols such as physical distancing is observed. For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
Let's take a quick look at what's happening around the world. North Korea has blown up an inter-Korean liaison office located in the city of Kaesong. South Korean military watched as live surveillance imagery showed the building as it was destroyed. Reuters footage shows smoke billowing from the city. Tensions sparked anew between the two nations as defector groups from the south allegedly sent propaganda to the north. Meanwhile, after 3 weeks of going COVID-free, New Zealand has just reported 2 new cases. Health officials say these cases involve a family who had recently traveled from the United Kingdom. And Nickelodeon is confirming that SpongeBob SquarePants is a member of the LGBTQ+ community. In celebration of Pride Month, the network tweeted a photo of SpongeBob with other major LGBTQ+ characters of Nickelodeon. They did not specify exactly how SpongeBob identifies, but Twitter users took off with their reactions, with SpongeBob gay immediately trending on Twitter. The show's creator earlier said that SpongeBob and his best friend, Patrick Star, are asexual. The summer season continues over in Spain, even with the threat of COVID-19. That's partially thanks to special technology that allowed beachgoers to have some fun in the sun. In Malaga, automatic disinfection systems have also been installed in 16 toilets on the beach. In the skies, 3 drones are flying over the 12-kilometer coast to monitor crowd volume. The drones come with speakers to broadcast beach rules to people. 3,000 beach agents are also deployed to control hygiene and safety measures in the area. And that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow, 8 p.m., signal channels 8 and 250. Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. You can also catch One News on Signal Play's app. Register for a free account now at signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Robbie Alampay and we are One News. Good evening.
Teka. Huwag mo yan, binabasa ko.
O tapos, si Ami, pagkatapos ko, ikaw. Kasi yung boses ko, hindi masustain.
Kaya nga. Paano? Sino mauna?
Ikaw muna, tapos
Sige,
ako.
muna.
Tapos, OBB. Tapos, ikaw ulit. Okay?
Ulit.
Yeah.
So, sino yung natin? Ang minemorize ko yung...
Si Dancing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andiyan ba siya? Yusek,
Yeah.
Po siya.
Ito yung mga condensing.